Right. So in this segment, what I want to do is go over your midterm exam and make sure that everybody is on the same page or understands what it was about and how y'all well, most of you did very well. So let's see what we can learn after the exam. So this is what the exam looked like. You basically, before you started the test, you were given all the instructions so you don't spend time reading that while the test is going on. And then within the test itself, we had all the questions. You were asked to develop a game, sort of a numbers game, not really a game, but a demonstration of the skills you have been acquiring. So you were asked to lay down a grid of 9 buttons, and within on each button, you were asked to display your student number in sequence, and your student numbers happen to be 9 digits. So that worked out beautifully. So this part, the first few questions, 3 questions, were to lay out everything. And I do believe that all of you got that much right. So I'm not going to spend time on that. You already know how to do that, how to build a grid like that. Then came the functionality, and the functionality you were asked to implement was that anytime those buttons is touched, you wanted something to happen. So basically, whatever number was displayed, either it would be reduced by one, increased by one, or stay the same, depending upon what its value was. So if it was less than the last digit, which is the last number displayed in this grid in the last button, if it was less, then it would be incremented. If it was greater, it would be reduced. Otherwise, it will stay the same. So basically, if you kept on clicking on all the buttons, at some point, all of them would have the same digit as this last one. That was one part of the functionality. And the other part was to implement a reset button so that pressing it reinitializes the grid with your student number. So these were the two main tasks, and let's see how they can be addressed. Okay, so here I'm going to walk you through some of the different possible ways of solving the same problem. As we know, in computer science and in many other fields, there may be multiple ways of doing the same thing. So here also there are many different ways, and this is one of the ways. Here an outlet, an IB outlet has been created for each of the buttons. So we've got 9 of those. And then what we do is we've got a function called button touched. So in addition to the IB outlets, we have created an action for each of the buttons, and it's a common action. Same function will be invoked regardless of which button was touched. And within this function, there is a call. So sender is the argument received, which button was touched. And then we change its title. And to change the title, and this was a very interesting implementation. It's a perfect demonstration of model view sorry, modern model view controller, which was not asked, so it was not necessary to do it like this, but the student chose to do it like that. And so what is happening is that there is a game model, and we are calling a function of the game model called change numbers, which receives as an argument the current title. Current title is what is displayed on the button at the moment. So let's look at the model. This is what the model is. It's got the change numbers function. It receives as an argument the string, the current, what is displayed. And then the last digit of the student number. And then what is done is basically we convert the string received into an integer, and if it is less than this last digit, then we increment it by 1 and return as a string. And if it is greater, then we reduce it by 1. Otherwise, we do nothing. We just return the same value. So this is what the model does. It returns a string, And if we go back to the controller, we will see that as this string is received here, this is what the string is received. We set it as the new title. So that's what gives us the functionality we want. And for the reset function, this was a again nice implementation, simple. For each button, you change the title to whatever is the corresponding digit of the student number. I have, for student privacy, I have not displayed the actual digits here. So this is one way of doing it. Model view controller with outlets. Another way of doing it, which I thought was very interesting, was in the view controller, you will see that the buttons, there are no outlets to the buttons. But then in the reset function, how do you change all those numbers? This is how you do it. So this student created a tag for each of the buttons, just like we did in tic-tac-toe. Again, this was the way the student did it. It wasn't asked to be this way. We just wanted it to happen. This is one way it can happen. So you retrieve each button based on its tag, and you corresponding student number, you assign it as the new title or reset it back to its original using the reset function. So that's another way, and let's look at a third way. The third way, we have got all the outlets to the buttons here, and your square touched function is implemented right here. There's no model, but we didn't ask for it, so this is a very simple case. You could just build the model within this function, and that's what happened here. So if the currently displayed text is less than the last number, then we increment it by 1, otherwise we reduce it by 1, and we set it back. So if they were equal, nothing would change. So this is how the square touch got implemented. And the reset button, when it's touched, now here what has happened is that all those outlets that were created here in the view did load, we created an array. We declared an array here, button array, an array of UI buttons, and we added all the 9 buttons to that array. So that whenever we want to perform an operation on all of them, we just do them in a for loop. We enumerate them and we do it in a for loop and set the title. And the title itself is the student number. It comes from another array of integers. So this is yet another way of doing it. All right, so hopefully that clarifies if you had any doubts about what you needed to do. And if doubts persist, make an appointment with me and I will explain them to you one on one. All right, thank you.